Hey, it's Polly with Get Busy Thriving, and I wanted to make a video because I've been seeing a lot, running this 30-day challenge inside of Facebook with my group, and I just saw an opportunity to share something, and I thought I would make a video on it for everyone, and that is, I've gained a mantra thanks to Abraham Hicks, who's a teacher of mine that I love, and if you haven't seen Abraham Hicks, I would highly encourage you. Tons of videos on YouTube, they're amazing. And one of their phrases that I've taken to heart and I live and I enjoy every day is, my dominant intent is to look for things that make me feel good. And I could say look for things, or if I find things that I don't make me feel good, then I change it, So I would say that the underlying purpose of that, or the underlying message of that, is live your life now for joy. Live in a state of now, being as happy, joyful, feeling good as possible. And I find that what I've learned over the years from great teachers like Tony Robbins and a lot of others is, the way that we feel in our state has a lot to do with the things that we're focused on and the meaning that we're giving things. And I lived a lot of my life with conditioning or patterns that didn't make me feel very good. I was a compulsive overeater, I was smoking and just people pleasing and all sorts of things. And when I shifted to, it's my dominant intent to look for things that make me feel good and to live a life like I want to feel good now, I was no longer willing to settle and suffer in places and things that didn't make me feel good. And it's my job inside to do those things, to make those changes. And I would say that my inner compass is something that I look to every day and in every moment. I was giving a coaching to a client today about the inner compass and how important it is to be checking in with yourself constantly, like all day long. I'm just checking in. How am I doing? How am I feeling? How are things going? Because I've conditioned myself that I notice when I'm not feeling good. So Abraham Hicks talks about there's a car on the top of the hill in San Francisco, and you nudge the car off the hill, let's say your emotions, get them going a little bit, you can stop them, right? You can stop that momentum. But when they're off the hill and they're running downhill, they just run you over. And so I find that I'm doing a much better job of managing the momentum of my emotions because I catch them earlier. If your dominant intent, like mine, were to feel good as much as possible and look for things that feel good, you would begin to notice when you don't faster and faster. And I find that a lot of people that come to me for coaching, or just people in the world, we've gotten too used to suffering or being in states of not feeling good and just thinking that that's okay. And I'm here to tell you that you don't have to live that way. You can live with a new intention, and then you follow it up with practice, because the patterns are created from habits of thought, habits of association, people that we hang around with, things that we do repeatedly, our environment. Change all of that. Change your thinking. Change the things that you focus on, the meaning that you give things, and you'll have new experience of life. So paying attention to your inner compass and how you're feeling, how you're doing each day, I would say is so important to living a life that's deliberate in the way that you want. And I just want to say two last things, and that is, when you have something in your life that you're faced with, so let's say it's a choice. So maybe being in a relationship with someone, or a food choice, or a work choice, a career or life choice. And you have two choices. You can either choose something that at first doesn't feel good and line up with that decision, or you can make a different decision that feels good. Either one is choosing to feel good. So the first one is, I really don't want to do this. So you change the story, change the meaning, line up with that decision and make it feel good, or make a different decision that already feels good and go with that. So it's all about working with and noticing your inner compass and what's real for you. What makes you feel good and what doesn't, and not doing things that don't make you feel good, And a lot of that has to do with the meaning and the story we tell ourselves about the way that the world is. You can drastically have a different experience in a state if you are continually checking in with yourself and saying, oh, I'm not feeling so good right now. Well, what am I focused on? And what am I making it mean? and noticing the story that you're layering on top of what's happening. So there's what's so, and then there's a story that you tell yourself about it. So if you want to feel better and your dominant intent is to feel good as much as possible, you will start to find ways to tell better stories about what's going on in your life. You know, we get in old patterns of, well, this is the way it always is, this is the way it always is. And I was coaching a client earlier today, something I got from Abraham Hicks also, which is, you know, the way that we go through life, like the story that we're telling ourselves is kind of like when it's cold outside and you can see your breath, you know, so like the story you're telling yourself is like what you're walking into. It creates the reality that you see, and that, like, that's your world, right? And Abraham calls it like this red inky mist. So if you're telling a story that doesn't feel good, like, why does this always happen to me, and things aren't going well, or I screwed that up, or just this red inky mist, well, you're going to continue to experience that because you just keep spewing it and just walking into it. If you stop spewing it, you'd like walk through it and be like, oh, there's this whole other world out here. So I hope there was something in here for you. It's really important that you manage that inner compass. Well, the inner compass is doing what it's doing. It signals from the universe, from source, if you ask me, that what you're focusing on is either in alignment or is out of alignment. And use it as an indicator. Like, how am I doing? Am I thinking thoughts that are lined up with what I want to be thinking, or am I shooting myself in the foot? Am I, beating myself up, or, negatively attracting things that I don't want in my life? So stop spewing that inky red mist, me. Like, I'm not going to do that anymore. So, paying attention, being more deliberate about how you're feeling, what you're saying, the meaning that you're giving to things. You can have a dramatically different life with just those few shifts in your consciousness. So it's choosing it consciously. Hope that was helpful for you.